We are engaging the button. All right, the button is on. The stream is hot. It's fresh. Just like Loth's noodles.
Yeah, somewhat.
Well, if you've
Do
done
my
them
best
correctly,
with it.
they need to be hot.
Oh yeah, but I need them to cool down a bit because I can't handle it if it's too hot.
Well, that's also true. I have burned my lips many a time being like, ooh, noodles are done. Ah! Right.
I am that guy who orders coffee and asks for it to be warm, not hot.
Reasonable.
I mean, I think I've told this story before, but to completely derail the early fail portrayal with a little... Give people time to filter in. Oh, that reminds me. I need to also say, I need to announce in the Discord we're live. But as I type that, I think I've told people about what I have to do with coffee sometimes, which is because it's so gosh darned hot in Florida right now. We are currently in the center of the sun season. But sometimes I make my coffee. I make sure it's warmed thoroughly because, I drink instant because it's simpler. And, getting the instant powder and the sugar to, distillate requires a warm coffee to start with. But then that's so hot, I will just plunk a couple of ice cubes out of the freezer in there. Yes, it waters down the coffee slightly, but it no longer gives me coffee sweats when I drink it.
Weirdly enough, you're not the first person I've heard who does that.
Yeah. I joke about it that I take iced coffee. That's not actually how you make an iced coffee, but it is a coffee with ice. It's funny. But all right, hello. Speaking of liquids, or possibly liquid, tonight we are talking about Tearlaments, an archetype you probably know about because despite the fact that I have shown the people the state of the TCG ban list in our very funny thumbnail, where literally every one of those tier names except Rhino Heart in the back is Limit 1 or banned. This is the unkillable deck. The most coping and praying, possibly seething deck of at least the last, probably 2 or 3 years.
No, man. The best thing you say is it's when Cope was going to Cope Town.
Oh, I mean, this deck lives in Cope Town. They have unlocked the strategic copium reserves. They have stopped protesting the Cope pipeline.
Okay, I have to ask, what is the difference between coping and hoping?
Hoping is just normal. Coping is like... I think the implication with cope and with copium is that you know that you're not right. Like, you have to logically acknowledge that...
I'm real. I've never coped in my life then. I've always just hoped.
Probably, yeah. Like, the coping is you, against the better sense of things, you know that shit is fucked. But you still are like, no, it'll be... You say the platitudes. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Tier can win.
How many minutes do I have to wait before I can say any swears?
Oh, you're fine. We've been live for like 3 minutes.
Okay, good. Fuck these guys.
Yeah, Tier's a weird deck. I've played a couple of Tier matches. I find the speaking of unfun archetypes out of the Visa Starfrost engine that we will be talking about, I find Kashtira way less fun to play against than Tier because Kashtira is basically like, hey, what if we took what Runic already does, which banishes your whole deck, and then also we made that into a board lockout. We made that Ojamas. And I'm just like, cool. Great.
I have to ask now, Loth, what deck that has not been a playable or rogue viable power that you don't just hate anyway? You hate everything that's of, that amount of anything.
Yes, because I love playing against Blue in Magic the Gathering.
I was talking about every deck ever.
Yeah, no, he's talking. I mean, he's like, what are there any?
Like 20 different archetypes you just hate because they're better than what you play.
And here we go. It begins. The great mutinying of our time.
I only bring it up because he keeps saying it up. He keeps saying he hates it just because of that.
I mean, we're talking about modern meta decks. There are a lot of unpopular. Like, Lot's not alone in that. Also, you gotta say, I gotta tell you, Axe, you're not good at picking your battles. You know
I'm just
that,
like,
to clarify, by the way, to the audience, Well, then you should preface with that part, other than just challenging him outright. But what I'm going to say is to clarify to the audience. Loth messaged me earlier today saying that he hadn't slept yet and wasn't sure if he was gonna sleep. He did get some sleep, but woke up sore. So like, Loth is literally like the wrong side of the bed today, which is why I'm saying Axe is making bold choices.
I know.
Tonight.
I know.
I mean, Loth likes Z-Arc. He likes Pendulum decks. Pendulum soup decks are relevant.
I need to possibly look into Valiants to see how they work out.
It's weird. I don't know if they're
I wish they were better.
good, but they got stuff. There's a lot of new Pendulum stuff, though. Like, honestly, since you can't play Masterpiece himself, Master Piss, in Master Duel right now, they released a lot of the Pendulum Draco Slayer cards, the new ones.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and I'm actually interested in that deck because they did one of those. They actually did one of those tryout duels events where I got to try the deck, and I was actually like, "Oh, this is actually kind of a neat little engine." It's an interesting package. We're not going to talk about that tonight, though. We're going to talk mostly about Tearlaments, though I did make sure to include the Ishizu cards in the list, so we can talk about them later, though.
Tearlaments, they make me cry.
Yeah, Tear has a decent number of names, and almost all of them are relevant, including the spell traps. It's why I never got to play the deck in Master Duel, because there's like... Hold on, let me actually count how many names there are.
Most archetype you actually play. That's new for once.
Okay, so there's 14 card names in Tearlaments, right? That's including Paralino and not including Perlegia at the time, because that's not... I don't think that's in MD yet. Because Perlegia is their second field spell to replace the fact that their first field spell went to jail. I'm pretty sure at least half of those are all SRs or URs. Plus all of the Ishizu cards are, of which there are 4 main names that matter. Poor Zolga, he came out first and sucks. Those guys are also all SRs or URs. So Tearlaments Ishizu required an unbelievable fuck ton of dust to make. And I tried to run the grass variant, which is also another UR. So, like, I just literally never was able to build enough of the fucking names. That said, in the OCG, this is why I said that Tearlament is unkillable. Because they're silly and just semi-limit a lot of stuff and don't ban stuff. And for some reason, they picked on Rhino Heart. Yeah. That deck is still, like, unkillable over there. So I'm actually very interested, maybe once all the support shakes out, to try a brew that I have heard of and seen, which is Dragon-made Tearlament.
I have heard of that, yes.
Yeah, that's been on some OCG lists, so I definitely want to experiment with that, I think.
I shared some screen caps and I couldn't really understand most of the words being said, but when Subaru was talking about some of her Yu-Gi-Oh cards she has in real life, chat was throwing words at her. She's like, yes, Master Duel, Tearlament mates. And I'm like, oh god.
Yeah. But yeah, so, Tear... Well, it's a multifaceted thing. Let's start at the etymology. Tearlaments is officially supposed to be a portmanteau of tear, tiara, and lament. I would like to advise all, speakers... that's not how portmanteaus work. Technically, in Japanese, the way you pronounce Tearlament is Tearlamentsu. So you use the LR ambiguity there. That still is not how portmanteaus work. I'm pretty sure the portmanteau is the marrying of two sounds. So either it's Tearlaments, which by the way I think this was actually translated as originally, or it is Tearlaments, and I don't think it can be both, but it has tiara in it in the OCG. They're all mermaids. In fact, almost all of them are named after mermaids or other sea ladies.
Mm-hmm.
The main monsters are Dark Aqua, though Kaleido, Rhino, and Tearlament's Kashtira, who we will not be talking about tonight, because that's a Kashtira card, are slightly different. Rhino Heart himself is a water warrior, and Kaleido Heart is actually a dark fiend, funnily enough. if you're curious about where this is going to end up.
Yeah, it may be because he's an asshole.
Yeah. He represents the emotion of Visas's sadness, his laments, his sorrow.
I don't see that.
Yeah, he's not very sorrowful himself, but he causes sorrow.
Yeah.
Grief is also sometimes the given term there, which just kind of makes sense because his plan is apparently to become immortal.
I'm noticing the trend with all of the hearts is that their land is dominated by the emotion, but they themselves cause it.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Because it's like, well, I'm forgetting the name. Reichthart? His other thing is like all of the creatures were dominated by fear and were part of it, but he himself was meant to be the one that causes fear and rules it.
Well, I mean, the Scareclaws do actually do both. They deliberately describe that the way like the Scareclaws compete with each other is they get into like one-on-one fights with each other to see who can cause more fear, and then the one who's the most afraid submits. So they have some back and forth.
The domination fights, gotcha.
The Tearlaments are not like that, as such. So
he's
it's
ruling them
by
or making them
weird.
being in mourning, I guess.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Brood Corner.
It's the entire ocean.
There's some speculation, and I will say speculation, by the whatchamacallit, the wikis, that the fact that they are mermaids and they lament is it might be a reference to the classic Hans Christian Andersen, The Little Mermaid, which is very sad.
Yes, the original is very sad.
Like, there's going to be some allusions to Seafoam later we'll talk about. There's also questions of if they are supposed to be a play on Fundaments, because the planet Perlarino. Sorry, there's like literally 3 E's in that name, so it took me a second to be like, wait, hold on. How many syllables? Perlarino. Or Perlarino. Pearly Rhino. There we go. Got it. I got the mnemonic. That may be a reference to firmament. You know, that's from like biblical and other eschatologies along that line. You know, firmament above, fundament below, kind of a thing. But yeah, it's a weird one.
Oh well, I'll do my best to curb my Tearlament hate during this, but more often than not, whenever I make a meets the effects, I'll just be off to the side going, and this card doesn't matter if it's in your hand, graveyard, or deck, you can do whatever.
I more felt the issue was mostly the Ishizu cards.
I mean, not
because
really.
I actually like Tear. Because
almost all of the Tears go to grave. No, here's the thing, and I'll say this. I don't think that Tear is as, especially in Master Duel, you can say what you want about Ishizu Tear in real life because it is painfully difficult to physically play. It's very complex. It involves a lot of, like, chain ordering and, like, looking through graveyards for, like, well, I've milled 5, and I get to proc 2 effects, and those themselves mill another, like, 3. Like, it gets very complex when you are doing it outside of Simulator. Having played some games against Tear decks, Tear is mainly a resource deck. It is a grind game. Like, I don't think that Tear is, on its own anyway. We can talk about, like, Ishizu Tear and, like, milling and also, like, graveyard bouncing your guys being problematic. But Tear itself is not an unfun deck to play against on its own. They are primarily a resource deck. They are just really hard to outpace when they get going because they have a lot of, you know, shuffling back, replacement, search again, throw again. They don't have a lot of negation or disruption. It's mostly just that, like, if you get rid of their guys, you send them to graveyard by card effect, they actually get to plus.
Yes.
It's just kind of unfortunate that the way that works is that, especially if you're playing Master Duel, requires you to be psychically aware your opponent is playing Tearlaments ahead of time and know to not play send to graveyard effects and, you know, switch to, like, compulse or something, which is a pain in the ass. Or banishment.
Yeah. It's one of those problems as well with, like, Reinhardt feels like a DPE, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, he has a similar feeling to him with how he fucking plays. But
yes,
anyway.
he comes back. We'll talk about him later, but the core of his effect is he gets to come back from graveyard if he's sent. Though he is banished after that, so he can't do it forever unless you reload your banishment, which is a thing I'm sure Tearlament is ready to do. But then his problem is that he's a foolish on summon, which means that while he is a hopped, if your opponent pops him on your opponent's turn and you summon him back, you get to fucking do it again. Which is probably why he is limited in the OCG. This deck, though, is going to get their ass, like, literally getting their ass beaten Master Duel. There's a new Master Duel ban list coming up we'll probably talk about a little. But please hold one. I have to go grab my water. Make sure to parch my throat. Oh, I also want to say, because raw pure Tearlaments in the OCG... also, yeah, somebody just brought up the Imperial Iron Wall strat. But in the OCG, the release order was different. Tearlaments was actually, like, second fiddle to Sprite in the OCG, because Sprite got a lot of their support faster, and the Ishizu cards came out later. So, like, what's the word I'm looking for? The deck handled very differently in the two parts, you know, like what was meta. And this means that I think that some of our results for, like, our different ban lists and stuff, Tier didn't get really brazy until, A, the Ishizu cards came out, and also, because they are a fusion deck, that's another thing we can preface about their playstyle, they got access to a TCG World exclusive card in Pote called Garuda, the Wings of Resonant Life. He is an asshole who sucks. And probably should never have been printed. I fucking hate him. That's a Dark Winged Beast fusion. Its materials are just 2 monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. Mm-hmm. If the card goes to the graveyard, you can draw a card. It's just gives you a free fusion target to proc more Tearlament effects, and you get to draw when you just fuse it away for something else. It is dumb, and I hate him. Plot-wise, basically where we last left off, Loth was out for that, so, you know, we need to catch him up. Visa Starfrost has no memories and no emotions. He plummets through the cosmos to the primeval planet Reichphobia, where he meets himself as a furry. He then beats himself up and reabsorbs his furriness that is suppressed, which gives him access to his fear or something. He remembers some stuff about himself. He remembers his name. He remembers that he's been separated of his emotions by a nondescript person and that they're going to be running wild. He also gets, a hologram Funko Pop, Zelda fairy to follow him around and tell him where to go. And then he just appears in blue light to go to the primeval planet Perlino.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
And the primeval planet Perlino... Oh, why'd you give me the small? Hold on. I definitely saw that finish loading. Try that again. What the fuck? Are you okay, Yu-Gi-Oh! Wiki? This is... I literally am looking at this image bigger. Copy image. Are we, like, zoomed out on my macro? There we go. Okay, I was zoomed too far out in paint. That was it. I'll dial it back. Okay. Now it works. This is the primeval planet Perlino. It is full of water and trees and discs of water.
I haven't read the book series, but you can make a joke about it being Discworld.
No, there's not enough elephants. Also, there should be a turtle involved. But yes, Perlino is wiggly and wet. It's blue. It's covered by oceans and pearls. That's why it's got those little shiny balls. And yeah, I mean, there's not much else to add here.
Yep.
By the way, this is... because I used Master Duel asset to get the big high-res images, I will be keeping track of every foil this is. This is UR #1, chat.
Oh no.
So this card's name in the OCG is technically Isekai Iko Perurino. So it's the first Broken World equals Pellerino.
Legitimately just isekai. Oh no.
Yeah, because it's the first one, you know. So the word, the name Pellerino is a portmanteau of pearl, because pearls, tears, etc. And the word reino, which is the Spanish word for realm, hence why we're going to run into Reino Heart later. The Visa Starfrost series of like those archetypes, they play very fast and loose with their linguistics. Because they were named after phobias, several of the Scareclaws were, whatchamacallit, Latin or Greek in name. Whereas, Scareclaw himself was Reichhardt, and then his planet was Reichphobia, Fear Realm, Pearl Realm. It's odd. Oh, actually, though, this does remind me. I mentioned earlier that, obviously, I'm not going to count up how many tops tier did. They, won several regionals. I think they won, U.S. Nats, shit like that. Very big deal. I was saying that I didn't think that Scareclaw had a lot of super big success. That's not technically true, because inside of modern Vanadium decks, you do run a Scareclaw engine to end on Triheart. So they are indeed actually part of the package, but that also includes a lot of other Visas stuffs. All right. But also, yes, remember, this is supposed to be the first one. This is planet number 1. All right. Let's start talking about them monsters. Monster number... Oh, actually, we should talk about what... I'm surprised that you guys didn't jump on me. We should talk about what the fuck Pellerino does.
Probably for the best.
Let me just hit the back
I
button
am someone
many
who
times.
is not fussed if I don't hear about Tearlaments effects.
So, Pellerino, which is, by the way, limited in the OCG, which is why they got a field spell they got a second field spell. That's usually what happens. The OCG will limit a field spell, and then we'll print a new field spell, and the TCG is like, okay, cool. But anyway, when this card is activated, add a Tearlament or Visa Starfrost from your deck to your hand. Pretty typical for this series of field spells. Fusion monsters and Tearlaments monsters you control gain 500 attack. If a Tearlaments monster you control in your graveyard is shuffled into the deck or extra deck, you get to target a card on the field and destroy it. You can use each effect of Pellerino once per turn.
Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah, no. And this is why this card is limited in the OCG and probably deserves it. I mean, like, the TCG strategy is just to make it so that you only have, like, literally 5 cards that are Tearlaments you're allowed to play or some shit like that. So it just doesn't come up. But this is still a searcher. Search any Tearlaments. You give yourself all fusion monsters, not just Tearlament monsters, which is, again, another... I get what they're going for here, but that's another big sin of, like, oh, well, now your opponent, or the Tearlaments player, is free to play, like, Super Poly and play, like, Starving Venom and other bullshit. Which they would do already, but now they're, like, rewarded for it. And your Tearlaments get 500 attack.
If Verte is legal, just go into that.
Well, that's true also, yes, but that's in... Everywhere but Master Duel, Verte is not legal.
I know. Why, Master Duel? Why?
Sadly, they haven't pinched him yet. I don't know why. Because Listen, you want to talk about copium? I mean, maybe I shouldn't say this because they still get me with this fucking combo, but I blame myself for having bad hands. But there are still people playing the exact same hero list, which has not changed since DPE released, and they still get to do all their exact same combos, and it's still fucking insufferable. I can't believe you have left all this shit legal Master Duel, and you still haven't let my boy Dr. Goon out. The man is just a single negate. And also
Can't be
maybe he
that
becomes a
hard. It's not
4K
that
Towers.
good.
Anyway.
I need to double check what it was, but I fought against a fucking Numeron player who then went, I'm just gonna make Verte.
I mean, yeah, that's
like,
usually
why,
that's
though?
usually what you do, probably because they fucked up their combo and couldn't OTK you and realized that. Or did you make them go first?
I made them go first, but I just fucking hate Numeron as well.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't really know who likes Numeron. I feel like to divest slightly, I feel like the Numeron OTK deck basically exists just so that you can like get scum cheap wins on people who aren't ready for you to just attack for game. Like it's a brain dead combo that ends in the exact same end board of 4 assholes, and just like if your opponent doesn't pop them, they lose. But also if you fuck up any single part of the combo, you lose because you have fucking nothing after that.
Oh no, it's funny because the guy I fought a few days ago, he did all the Numeron stuff and then flipped that one trap card that says neither player can banish shit.
Oh.
I'm like, cool, yay, fun.
Yeah, I don't. I think didn't we? Martha's probably listening to double check me. Didn't we say something about Imperial Iron Wall at some point in our Prague series? It was very annoying. I think we had to like
Infinite Loop.
figure out how to do some dumb shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Quibble to Draga, basically. Making cards that you banish themselves as cost, but don't need to banish themselves continuously.
But yeah, so, and Paralarina, like I said, is a pop, which, because your entire deck shuffles itself back. We will talk about their replacement spell, Perlegia, later, which is both in archetype and not as good, aka not as bullshit. Also, yes, Tearlaments was another, not Tearlaments, Shedall was another popular brew. Even if you were playing mostly Tier Ishizu, you would probably still play, like, a Shedall line, because Winda is a, because Tearlaments are all dark, and so you can make Winda, which is a floodgate.
Oh, fucking Winda.
There's a reason why our Shedall thumbnail was the way it was. Okay,
Yeah.
so, first up, we're actually talking about her. This is Tearlaments Havness. This card is a normal in Master Duel, so that should tell you things you want to know. Casino Tier is hilarious, but I understand why things are the way they are. Listen, if you like Tier, you can continue to cope, because it's going to take Konami forever to kill this fucking deck, and people still try. They find new dumb things to brew in here. So this is Havness. This card is probably named after Havfru, which is a Danish word for mermaid. Like I said, we use a Spanish word for realm, and then we're gonna get all over here.
We're touching all the set stones here culturally.
Yes. So this shows you a few of their design themes. They are all slightly fishy ladies, though they have legs and skirts. They have a stained glass motif, as you can see with her double stained glass cutlasses. Cool. They wear little crowns. She looks either very tired or very goth.
She looks a bit like a porcelain doll.
Yeah, they have kind of I mean, that would probably go with the stained glass. Also got a little stained glass belt here. I guess this skirt was long enough, and this dress covered enough, because you can see, you know, a slight navel divot there. There's some pearls in the shot. Also, important design feature. Most of the Tearlament ladies, you know, under their top region, are wearing a accessorial padlock, because symbolism.
Censored armpits, I'm sorry, just seeing that in chat.
Not all of them. Like I said, unless the wiki is lying to me. There was apparently an edit, but oh no, okay. The edit is the most bullshit nothing ever. In the international version, they added this like cloth wrap because previously there was the impression that Havness was not wearing a bra on her dress.
Oh, jeez.
So now she's got, they added a little ruffle there, I guess, to cover it up. But it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is nothing.
It's such a nothing edit. I literally was like, oh, I don't see any edits. I'm like, I'm doing the fucking spot the difference trick between the two, because you know how like the image viewer on a Wikia loads, so it's got like a little arrow. I was just clicking back and forth going, what the fuck? Oh, I get it. Anyway, that's Havness. This is the other thing that I personally am saddened by. Axe said earlier, you know, about liking the Tearlament style. I actually think Tearlament has a really unique deck style. Like, they play the game in a really cool and unique axis. And I kind of like a lot of their aesthetic, you know, their Dark Aquas, which is a, like, severely underdeveloped area for Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. I think they may have been, like, definitely the first archetype of that set of attribute and type. And they may have been the first Dark Aquas ever, you know? So, like, there's a lot of stuff going on. But regrettably, when you add the Ishizu to the mix and then you combine it with, like, extra deck bullshit generic stuff, it just makes a really complex, unfun deck that Konami also understood would be super in demand, so they made it very expensive. Big Sag. Whereas, despite the fact that I would think it has about as much meta success, it's much easier to make a Labyrinth deck in Master Duel. Do I want to bring that up now, or am I going to try and say to remember that at the end of the episode and forget? I'll just count that I won't forget. Put a pin in that. I want to talk about future episodes after we wrap Visa stuff.
Okay.
Alright.
I'll let chat remind me about that one as well. Okay. I think we've talked about what Havness looks like. Let's discuss very briefly, you know, what she does, because that's going to lay out a lot of foundations for how these work. Havness is a Dark Aqua, level 3. She has 1,600 attack and 1,000 defense. Once again, if you have your field spell up, that's not 1,600. That's fucking 2,100. I'm all for relevant attack modulations. I just don't understand why their field spell needed that. Anyway, Havness is kind of your going second play. This is something MBT's been talking about lately. He even did a short about, like, hey, did Yu-Gi-Oh! Solve their going second problem where, like, decks that traditionally need to go first, like Lab, like Tearlament, like, have the tools to actually go second, which is neato. But yeah, so if your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, special this, mill the top 3 cards of your deck. This is where the Ishizu part comes in. If you mill the millers, they will then extend, but we'll cover that in detail later. If this card's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, except during the damage step, you can fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck by placing fusion materials mentioned on it from your hand, field, or graveyard, including this card from your graveyard, to the bottom of your deck in any order. You can only use each effect of Havness once per turn. So Havness is a pseudo hand trap. When your opponent activates a monster effect, she gets to summon herself, mill 3, excavate 3. Also, yes, Necro Valley, Abyss Dweller. There's a lot of counters for this card. It's just, I think in Master Duel, people are tired of Tier because there's no side decking.
Mm-hmm.
And there are decks that if you pre-sideboard against Tier, you just fucking lose to. For instance, like Numeron OTK. Your opponent goes second and goes, Ungus Bungus, you are Dungus. But yeah. Okay, somebody in chat said there were a few other Dark Aquas, yeah, so there weren't an archetype, but it's very rare. And then the other thing is, somebody brought this up in chat earlier, but Tearlaments don't have a fusion spell. They don't need spells. They fuse on monster effects. If this card's just sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you get to just fucking fuse, which is part of the process. Makes them problematic to remove, though it is a hopped. Also, it's a double hopped because Havness is limit 1 in both the TCG and the OCG. So let us move on to our Nexus. Yes, Zed has a great call. Technically, sending to your graveyard as fusion material counts as by card effect. So if you, for instance, did a Shaddoll fusion to fuse into Winda and sent there, you would be able to, like, as part of the chain link, get your 1 special to summon another guy.
Yeah, it's...
They,
Oh,
like I said,
God.
they are a beast of a consistency engine. I say this as a Lab player, by the way. Lab has one of the best grind games in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. I have been outgrinded by Tears before. It's hard. They just get advantage everywhere. Shit like Macrocosmos, Necro Valley, like there's only a few ways to actually block them up.
Yeah, they just. It's like, okay, cool. You've got any out, we'll just go around it.
Another element is another one that's good is Exorcister. It's not super great, but Exorcister is a deck that basically says if your opponent moves a card out of their graveyard or activates an effect, fuck them. Kill them. Send them to hell. But yeah, here's Merely.
Exercise them.
Merely is, somebody asked why did MD cycle out Merely. Merely is also limit 1 in both the OCG and the TCG. So, yeah. If anything, Master Duel is slow rolling us by not just limiting all of them. Art-wise, yeah, Merly's pretty cute. I think she's got, like, one of the softest faces of all the little Tearlament ladies. I think she's supposed to be younger, but that means she has a giant hammer, which is also made of stained glass, which is cute. You can notice she's got slightly different looks on her dress and stuff here, you know, long, sweepy fish-like stuff.
She's got a precious look to her. Like,
yeah.
The fucking long sleeves also look like fins is adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like a delicate layer. She's like weird delicacy look to her.
Well, you know,
I thought you said delicacy, and I'm like, okay, yeah, just
Like delicate.
Just consume the fish.
I'm sorry.
So this card, by the way, is probably named after either or both a Melusine, stare at chat, or a Mero, both of which are, you know, water spirits. No idea where the hammer comes from. Merly's a Dark Aqua level 2, because remember, Tier Sprite, you could run them both together if you were a madman. Also, I don't think she actually has fins for feet. I think she's just wearing stockings that are like that. Much like on her gloves there. Merly is a Dark Aqua level 2. She has 800 attack and 2k defense. If this card is normal or special, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If this card's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, Fusion Summon. You can use each effect once per turn. So, Havness and your... I mean, I'll say this, Varen. I don't actually know how Master Duel decides stuff, but Merly is on the block to be banned later. I don't know. I guess they're just trying to eat your normal. Maybe it's because she's a level 2 and she has Sprite synergy. For instance, because they still won't ban Sprite Elf. That you can special summon merely on your opponent's turn off of Elf and then mill. Like, there's potential here. I think it would be advised by just sticking to the real life ban lists and actually like hitting cards that are problematic. But I don't fucking know how they pick stuff.
I have
Maxi's
had that
illegal.
happen to me a few times.
Yeah, Sprite Elf sucks.
Fighting T and then just Sprite Elf for no reason. I'm like, but why though?
Sprite gets to run both Elf and Sprint. How fucking cucked is that? And yeah, that's by the way, that's literally just it. That's just Merely. Like, she's just on normal or special mill 3 if sent fuse. Like, it's a very basic bitch effect. But unfortunately, we've done the thing. And now, because as usual, we go in alphabetical order, we're going to talk about a slightly odd one out. Oh, and I forgot to keep chat updated on the double check. Merly is also a normal in Master Duel. That may also be why they banned her, because she's very accessible. But Merly and Havness are both normals. So it's time for Ultra Rare number 2, second ulti. It's that boy, Tearlaments Rhino Heart. Tearlaments Rhino Heart. Yeah. Is that what persona of Visa Starfrost this is? We had his furry persona, now we have his twink persona.
I was gonna say also scaly fish one.
I mean, he doesn't actually look that scaly himself.
Oh my god! Then what is it? I forget his name. Is Rizart then just his, I guess, his Fire Emblem? Is it just his Wii persona where he's just like cosplaying as a Fire Emblem character?
Yeah, maybe.
Just like.
Yes. In the TCG, this card is unlimited. In the OCG, it's limit 1, but it makes for a funnier thumbnail if he and Vsauce are the only assholes who don't have things over them. This is a good card art, though. Like, obviously, yes. Rhino Heart gives me immediate fuckboy vibes. I don't know if it's the light hair and the yellow eyes, but like he just looks like he's a fucker. Maybe it's the stained glass, Kato Ninetails whip he's holding. Because yes, that is what this is. That's wraps around to form a whip with blades. He's got a fistful of pearls.
Name me one non-asshole character with a Kato Ninetails weapon.
I can't think of any off the top of my head. They probably exist. But that said, this art, like I said, great. There's some, really beautiful water effects. You can tell he's got that fistful of pearls. Though with that rainbow sheen, they look a lot like, gacha currency. He's gonna go on a Master Duel and buy some cosmetics, y'all. But the stained glass armor is really good, and while it's hard to see, he's got a little bit of the space in his shoulder. He's got a space shoulder. It's not his normal stained glass.
Quick dumb thing. Who here has ever seen the anime Princess Tutu?
A long, long time ago.
He looks like he'd be an evil version of the white-haired main character guy.
I can kind of see that.
Just an asshole.
But yeah, so Rhino Heart is somewhat unique in that, shockingly, he is not a dark nor an aqua. He is a water warrior. But he is level 4. He's got 1,500 attack, 2,100 defense, so he's got the usual stat flip from Visas. Visas is 21, 15, and he's 6 stars, so this guy's 4 and the other way around. If this card is normal or special, bin a Tearlaments monster. You send a Tearlament monster from your deck to your graveyard, you foolish it. If this card's sent by a card effect, special it, but banish it when it leaves the field. And if you do, send a Tearlament from your hand to the graveyard. So this guy's just, I understand why the OCG went for the limit here. This guy is just an advantage engine. He is your, obviously Merrill's a really good normal summon, but this guy's also a really good normal, because he just foolishes, which is a card effect, so you instantly get to fusion summon. And then also, if this card is sent, he immediately reborns himself, he DPEs himself, and lets you pitch from hand to immediately fusion summon again. It's fucking God. Like, of course this guy would be like that. Though, I think, like I said, that makes sense because his thing is that he is apparently gathering these pearls because he is searching for immortality. He's trying to be fucking immortal.
They should have added some Mercury in his design just to fuck with people. Actually, wait a second. That kind of is if you look at some of his code back there.
Yeah, he's got kind of some like liquid metal stuff a little, and his hair is definitely like Quicksilver colored. All right, it's time to talk about the last of the main deck monsters, at least for the foreseeable future. By the way, this one, you are number 3. That's right. 3 of your main deck cards, your field spell, and 2 of your monsters are URs. And your other 2s are normals. What is this rarity distribution? Anyway, it's Sheeran. Sheeran, by the way, to round this out, is, once again, as you've seen from my thumbnail, our 3rd tier name that in both the OCG and the TCG is Limit 1. You can literally play one of each tier name in your main deck.
Yeah.
It's actual cope.
Yeah. Shayden seems to be based on Siren for a naming convention.
No, I thought she was a reference to Ed Sheeran.
No. She's got kind of the armor thing going on. She's got the padlock. She's got the fin stuff. She's got her little crown. She's got her twin tails. She's got actually got a little bit of a sad vibe. Like, I think Havnus just looked very tired. And Merrily is obviously kind of upbeat, honestly.
Yeah, smile to hide the pain kind of feel
Yeah.
with Merrily.
I like Sheeran's sword design here. I mean, I don't know how good of a grip she's got with her, silk arm warmers, but she's trying.
She does one swing and just goes flying out of her hands.
Yeah. But she's doing like a little dance. We've got some lots of water effects here. Sparkles, splashes, swirls, ripples. Very good. Very solid. But otherwise, pretty typical to the aesthetic. Oh, okay. This one has another dumb edit. So in the OCG version, you know how you can see her thigh line? Her skirt is supposed to be translucent, so you can see like some slight lower bootage curvature. And they just like opaqued it out because, I don't know, showing you the side of someone's thigh is not okay. Despite the fact that,
we can't implicate that they have an ass. It's like, oh gosh.
Despite the fact that, I'm pretty sure there are characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Wearing leotards, but also, like, in certain they're underwater, y'all. Do you cover your butt when you wear a feminine cut swimsuit? Though men can wear speedos and diving gear.
You need to make it at least it's not, like, conflicting with your leg movements.
Yeah, you need freedom to dance.
They should have added flippers.
So, Shiren we're back to Dark Aquas. She's a level 4. She has 1800 attack, 1300 defense. This would be a perfectly normal stat line, but once again, you get plus 500 if your field spell's on the board. So you actually get to be 23. During your main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you do, send a monster from your hand to the graveyard, then mill your top 3 cards. If this card's sent to the graveyard, fusion summon. So, yes, Shiren is another... Does not proc on normal or special, but she's another decent normal target because she is a starter. She lets you bin and mill. Nobody becomes Kit Kalos, actually, I don't think. I believe Kit Kalos is supposed to be on her own. As seen in some card art we're going to talk about. I know, it's a little exotic. The fusions are not necessarily upgrades.
Sorry,
some are.
I know it's pronounced Kit Kalos, but my head went, yes, Tearlaments Kit Kat.
Well, first we have Big Captain Fuckboy to talk about. Which, by the way, hey, guess what, chat? This guy's an ultra rare in Master Duel. That's 4 ulties.
He's truly the
Do you
fuckboys.
Do you understand why I've never been able to build this deck? But yeah, this is Tearlaments Kaleido Heart. This is the big boy version of, our usual upgrade form that the hearts have. He is the enhanced form of Rhino Heart. Because Tearlaments are a fusion-based deck, he is a fusion monster, as opposed to, Tri-Heart being a link monster, and so on and so forth. There's nothing else really in there about too much of his name, other than that he is Kaleido Heart, as opposed to Tri-Heart. I'm guessing because Kaleidoscope, because he's got stained glass themes.
In a way, that it's not visual, but it feels like another attempt at Gishki nonsense.
It is kind of a Gishki-esque design, and he is a fiend. He's still got his whip, though it's fancier. He's got, like, claw hands. He's got a lot more fish stuff going on with him. A lot more stained glass.
He's got his harem behind him.
Yeah, he's got some masked Tearlament ladies to do his bidding. Definitely maybe hitting some of those Tearlament hormones, because I'm noticing that he's got a pinchable waist and a wide hip line to make account for the fact that he's got a lot of tentacles now.
Thank you, Ezra. He just became Ursula.
Yeah, kind of. Poor unfortunate souls. So, if there's nothing else to add about this boy's visuals.
Yes.
Tearlaments Kaleido Heart.
Nothing to add.
Doc Fiend. Level 9, 3k, 3k. His materials are 1 Tearlament Rhino Heart and 2 Aqua Monsters, so clearly that's the other 2 Aqua Monsters are his girl gang. Cannot be used as fusion material. Super Poly? Fuck you. If this card is special summoned or an aqua monster is sent to your graveyard by card effect while it's on the field, target a card your opponent controls, shuffle it back. If this card's sent to the graveyard by card effect, you can special summon this card. If you do, send a Tearlaments card from your deck to your graveyard. You only use the effect of Tearlaments Kaleido Heart once per turn. So, yeah, Kaleido Heart is part of your big payoff. He's not usually the first fusion you make. Tearlaments are actually kind of interesting in that you use a lot of their one. But Kaleido Heart is usually some level of your end state. He's really annoying because he gets a once per turn you get to shuffle back, and then also, on both on summon and when you bin, and then also he can reborn himself. You can actually use this in certain builds as a guy you fish out of your extra deck for cost,
Yeah. Good old, he's basically DPE, but for fish.
Yeah.
Fish.
DP fish.
Yeah,
Wait,
I mean, it makes sense because he is Rhinoheart, but at the same time, the fact that this guy just... Well, this is a thing... This is actually something I noticed Dual Log's talking about the other day, but... This is a thing that's happening with a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards now is, you know how normally cards that reborn themselves say, but banish them when they leave the field? This precludes, by the way, returning them to your hand, shuffling them back in the deck and stuff. A lot of cards these days just don't have that. They're making a lot of cards that just don't banish themselves when reborn. Presumably under the assumption that if you're going to get interaction, your opponent will just figure out how to banish it or otherwise bonkle it. The new Butler Lady for Labyrinth doesn't do that, for instance. There's a couple of other archetype cards that are kind of infinitely recurring. And this guy's probably one of the first examples of that. He just comes back.
They needed to add a way to punish the comeback because he is too powerful that there's no downside.
The main thing would be to probably...
He can't be... I'm sorry.
Yeah, obviously there's targeting removal, Karma Cut. The important thing to remember is that he is dark. This means that another deck that, while was often played with Tears, also could work against them. He is dark. That means he is a bestial target. He can be bisted, which, remember, is a quick effect if your opponent controls a card. Those guys are all just DD Crows. Also, DD Crow works because then he is banished. Later. But yeah, you gotta worry about that.
His only downside is that he can't be used as fusion material.
Which is also a positive because, like I said, it means your opponent cannot just super poly him. You have to get him with a White Woman jump scare.
So there is no downside. And with the field spell, he becomes 3,500.
Yeah, he's a big asshole. I mean, personally, my strategy would be to contend that is the fact that, hey, chat, y'all read Chaos Angel? He's pretty cool. He's a 10-star synchro that says that you can use a light or dark monster in place of the tuner. And when he is special summoned, he banishes a card on the field. If you have a large Labyrinth Lady who's level 8 and a Stovey Torby, you have a level 10 synchro Chaos Angel.
I'm thinking about making a Chaos related synchro deck.
I think they've added all the good Chaos synchro stuff to Master Duel Loth. If you want to try that out, there's a lot of funny shit.
That I might try it because I've never played Lab before.
Yeah. Lab's got some good shit, and like I said, I think at least with the way it worked with the previous support, it's a lot easier to get. Also, it has a secret pack now, which means that you can just craft SRs, which are a lot easier to get, and then just roll the packs. Whereas selection pack cards and cards that are no longer in selection packs, this is why I never built a Dinomorphia deck. I really like that in the Trap Festival, but they still don't have a secret pack, and they have a lot of high rarity cards, so it's just not possible. But yeah, Kaleido Heart is a big asshole, but this is what I said. Tearlaments are not really a negate deck, right? Yes, shuffling back into the deck, very annoying, can get around some cards, but it's just a once-per-turn shuffle back, right? He doesn't stop you from doing shit. He just has a very choice chance where he can get at you and do the salty flip back. So it's very interesting to see these guys out there. And there's a reason why this guy is still unlimited, because while he's a pain in the, he is an asshole. He does require you to have a specific name and then also two materials. So you got to set up a little, and without the engine behind him, he is a lot less good. Let's talk about Kitskalos. Tearlaments Kitkaros. Kitkaros, by the way, our first SR. Not a UR, but an SR. And as we've been discussing in chat, Kitkalos is just a lady. So, by the way, the wiki's best guess on where her name comes from is that it is a very Japanese way to write the name Kaitokeros, which is a genus of plankton. With the slightly insano, the slightly nutso, like, string theory, you know, on the board as to why that works is because in real life, the phenomena of sea foam is partially caused by plankton. Yeah,
No,
I know.
was
It's
thinking to
just...
myself that Rhino's after the Krabby Patty secret formula.
Yeah, no.
Oh, that's stupid.
Yeah, no, it's a silly one. This girl is fucking banned. She is in prison. But she, you know, for it, she looks pretty good. Very big anime eyes, but also big ears. She's got a little bell in her crown. I wonder if it's because of the way their sleeves work, but I noticed that these ladies have an obsession with reverse grips. Like, that's not how you should be holding that sword normally, miss.
Basically pulling a Star Killer with those.
Yeah. She's got very, very, very fancy stuff, though. You know, going on. Got her little bangs and stuff. I'm going to guesstimate by the fact that I think her bust line is the biggest. She is probably the oldest and most senior of them. Because they are all otherwise, you know, young ladies chilling. Though, I also think if we'll look at, I think it's Crime Leader, or maybe it's Suliak. No, Suliak is what I made the thumbnail out of. I also think physically she's taller than a lot of these guys. But we'll do some comparison. So, she is a fusion monster, which is interesting, because she's not, like, directly fused. But, yeah, so, Kitkalos, Dark Aqua Fusion, level 5, which... By the way, means that before we decided to put instant fusion back in fucking prison, she was instant fusionable.
Oh no, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. She has 2300 attack, 1200 defense, though once again, under the field spell, this is 28 for a 5-star fusion. Her materials are not completely generic. I feel like they did a good job with her mats. I think it's just the problem is her effect is too strong. But she's one Tearlaments monster and one Aqua monster. So naturally, if you're playing pure tier, this works, but there's a few other lines that work for it as well. I believe King of the Swamps himself is an Aqua. So you can use him to pitch for, like, generic poly searches and use him as materials for Kitkalos. So, very spicy. If this card is special summoned, take a Tearlaments card from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. You can target a monster you control, special summon one Tearlaments monster from your hand or graveyard. If you do, send the targeted monster to the graveyard. If this card is sent to graveyard by card effect, you can send the top 5 cards of your deck to the graveyard. You can use each effective Kitkalos once per turn. So yes, Kitkalos is an extender. On special, she searches or foolishes, which is pretty crazy that you can do either or. She can actively target a Tearlaments, which, by the way, target one monster you control, so she can target herself to special summon another Tearlament and extend, and send to graveyard, and then when she's sent, she mills 5, not just 3. Oh, I mean, you still play him even though Kitkalos is banned. It's just that, because he's a poly searcher and an Aqua, it's just that, like, that's another thing that, like, made this, like, ridiculously easy to summon. So, yeah, Kitkalos, I feel like I get what Konami was going for with Kitkalos, right? They were trying to make just a cool starter fusion card, because all of their effects are to fusion summons. They were like, okay, so if you do fucking anything in Tearlaments, you're probably going to be able to activate a fusion summon. We need a monster that is not their big, scary boss monster for them to make to extend their plays. You know, like the fusion equivalent of, like, making a Link 1 or Link 2 extender, right? The problem is Kitkalos is too much extension. On special,
Yes.
she searches. She can then bin herself or another monster, which is also sending to graveyard is probably advantage for you, to summon and extend more. And then she mills when she's sent a lot, so you extend more. It's just it's literally oops all gas, and that's why she is in prison.
Infinite conga line of assholes.
Yeah.
Truly.
It's just you keep fucking extending, and it's rapidly becomes problematic.
And also the fact that she's fucking like with the field spell and instant fusion, you just have a very big asshole as well.
Yeah.
Just very quickly and easily.
All right, and now our
Sorry,
final
thank
monster.
fuck they banned that field spell. Jesus Christ.
the field spell is I think it's limit 1 in both Master Duel and the OCG. It's unlimited in the TCG, but the TCG is literally just like you can play like 5 total tier cards. They're just like fuck you, and Kikkalos is banned. This is our final monsters for now. Tearlaments Rulkalos. Rulkalos is presumably named after what is it? I'm trying to remember the exact grammar. It's the Rusalka, which is a Russian water lady. So art-wise, there's some interesting things to note here. You can probably tell by the face and the crown and stuff, this is presumably Kikkalos, but notice she's slightly more glammed out. She's wearing armor very similar to what Rhinoheart was wearing. She doesn't have the padlock anymore.
And her face looks like it actually has emotion.
Yeah, so this is presumably what Kikkalos becomes after she is freed of Rhinoheart's control. She no longer has the padlock, and she's ready to rock.
She can actually feel happy.
Yes. This is the advanced form. And Kikkalos is one of her materials. Also, somebody said this is why you still run King of the Swamp, because you need a fusion substitute, because that card is banned. It's very funny. I also think talking about being free and no longer being sad. So we mentioned before, right? Kaleidoheart is a fiend, but he's still dark. Kikkalos is just a dark aqua as normal. Rulkalos is water aqua. She's no longer dark. So yeah, we get to come back.
Yeah, she's not lamenting about anything. She's not basically stewing in her own thoughts.
She's here now. She's free. She can be her own person. And it's a pretty good look. Actually holding the sword kind of correctly. It's got a weird curvature, but I think it is bladed on both sides, and it's got the handguard in the right direction, so she can actually use it to stab or slash people. Lots of beautiful light effects that I like, the pearls, the bubbles, etc.
Thank you, Varen. Thank you. I was thinking about that, but I couldn't quite think of it.
No more lamenting these tears. So, Rulkalos is as before mentioned, a water aqua fusion. She's level 8. She has 3k attack and 2500 defense, so despite being 1 star behind and 1 less material, she is just as big as Kaleidoheart. Her materials are exactly 1 Tearlament Kikkalos and then 1 other Tearlament monster, so a little tricky to play. You got to do some special stuff to make this work, but still viable. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, hey, chat, guess what? This is the 4th Ultra? How have you been keeping, chat? She is an Ultra in Master Duel. So, her effects state, other Aqua monsters you control can't be destroyed by battle. You can then use each of the following effects of Rulkalos once per turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect that includes a special summon, you can negate and destroy, and then send a Tearlament from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard. If this fusion summon card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon this card. So Rulkalos reborns herself, but only once, because Loth, after she special summons herself back, that's a different special summon. She's no longer fusion summoned.
Yeah, but also just a negate, that's also a plus.
Yes, that I don't like that it is a negate, destroy, and a plus, but it is only negating a special summon effect. So if you just go obviously you probably don't want to do that because that would make your opponent go a huge plus. But if you just go Lightning Storm, more likely if you're just like, oh, nice Rukalos, Compulse. You don't get to negate that, right? But yes, negating summons, being a... Basically, imagine if Solemn Strike said, and then after you, instead of saying pay life points, it said, and then after you do that, draw a card. Go +1, buddy. Technically +0, but you know what I mean. It's a little rude. But there's a reason why she is not limited anywhere, because with Kit Kalos banned, that means that you have to, basically fill your deck space with shit like King of the Swamp. Which is not a huge demerit, but is still, a thing you have to do, because you can't play her normal materials and work around some other stuff. So, I think it's okay. I would honestly prefer specific negates like this to Omni negates. It's just a special summon effect, which can be really annoying, but I would prefer that to just, hey, fuck you. I can negate anything. And yes,
Sorry,
like I said,
you said that, my mind thought of, Jevil. I can do anything.
So let's talk about spell traps. This one is alphabetically first, but technically is very at the end of the star line. This is Tearlaments Crime, which is a pun on crying and crime. This is Kaleido gets what's coming to him.
I'm trying to see what is actually happening in this picture.
It's a little busy, but basically what's happening according to the lore book is... So to explain what happens is Visas and Lightclaw, the Funko Pop form, Lightheart, I should say, Triclaw Lightheart, shows up, and the Tearlaments are like, who the fuck is this guy? He looks like our boss. What's your dealio, Chief? We gotta take you to see the Chief. And so Visas goes down there and is targeted by the Tearlaments because they're very confused, But... basically by them, to show you how much, by the way, of a little bitch baby Rhino Heart is, according to the lore book, quote unquote, Visas inquired about this world and the different aura from Reichphobia he was feeling, but instead the mermaids answered that their master was looking for tears to become immortal. However, their master Rhino Heart, the split entity of sorrow, perceived this as a betrayal. He suddenly appeared in front of Visas, transformed into his grotesque form, and brainwashed the mermaid. So yeah, basically, the Tearlaments explain that their boss has them mining for pearls so he can become immortal. He thinks that this is a gross betrayal of his trust, mind controls them, and turns into a monster to beat up Visas.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Talk about fragile egos.
I was about to say, he has the tiniest ego.
So yeah, during this process, basically, presumably because, Vsauce is not interested in beating up these innocent fish ladies, he tries to send them after him, but Vsauce uses the power of fear to cancel out the power of sorrow. That frees Kit Kalos from the mind control, and she shivs Kaleido Heart in the back, as pictured here. You can't... I feel like I want there to be, a blade emerging from his front, but there really isn't. All you can see is that he's clearly having a bad time, and that Kit Kalos is behind him. And Starfrost is stoned as usual.
At first glance, it just looks like he's had a really upset stomach, and he's just like, oh fuck.
Yeah, he's
It's
like,
coming
shit,
back
what
up.
did I eat? Yeah, it's not the greatest card art. And also, by the way, the Tearlaments, for their spell names, they have very, very complex names. So, this is written as Tearlamentsu Kuraimu, but also it has, kanji characters to let you know what the meaning is. This card's full name, then, is Clear Echo in the First Broken World.
Damn.
So, we go with crime, which is spelled with a Y, so it's crime, but also cry. Did you get it? Did you get it, chat? So this is a counter trap, and then this is just their Omni negate. When a spell trap or monster effect is activated while you control a Tearlaments monster or Visas Starfrost, which I do, by the way, appreciate that a lot of these do name check Visas himself, so that you have multiple avenues of playing them. Negate, and if you do, shuffle that card and then send a card from your hand to the graveyard. If this card is sent to graveyard by card effect, target one of your banished tiers, add it to your hand. So, hey, remember we talked about how Rhino Heart banishes himself? Doesn't fucking matter. Add him back. You only use one effective crime per turn, though, and only once that turn.
But he came back.
So I will say that is interesting, by the way. This means that, you know, you can't crime negate and then send for effect. It just has a milling effect to recycle some of your banished, which is cute. And it is an omni negate, but it shuffles back, which, depending on what you're doing, is either much better or much worse. So it depends on the deck play. So it's crime. It's their omni. We do be omniing. And now our next card, this one, at least chronologically, makes sense. This is immediately after. This is Tearlaments Grief. Oh, hold on. It's a little off-center. Let me recenter that. So, yeah.
I've turned your boss into a Funko Pop.
No, not quite. We don't Funko Popatize Kaleido Heart, but yeah, Kaleido is dying. He's turning into mist. It's like he's a Dark Souls enemy. Kid Kalos is there, and she just seems kind of confused, probably because Lightheart is there and is saying something, or she's watching Visas' space arm eat Kaleido's mist. As you can see it.
As Scareclaw him is just like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with Lightheart here. He's fucking being a weirdo. But yeah, that's Tearlaments Grief. This is a normal spell. Special summon one Tearlaments monster or Visa Starfrost from your deck or graveyard, then send a monster you control to the graveyard with the same type or attribute as that special summon monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, target one of your banished Tearlaments traps, add it to your hand. You can only activate one Grief per turn, and only once that turn. So yeah, I feel like it's kind of ironic that this is called Grief. By the way, the full name is Echo Swirling in the First Broken World. There's a lot of things about echoes in the OCG names, but yeah. It's just, I feel like the grief here is ironic. Or being funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, we're just chilling. Also, this is a pretty good card because it summons from deck. That makes it ashable, but also, like, that's just good. It's a great way to get out Visa Starfrost in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
And continuing the nature of cards that are keep continuing to be in chronological order. It's very funny, but next up is Tearlament Heartobito. This is Tearlament Heartbeats in the OCG, or Heartbeats Shaking in the First Broken World. So we're trying to finish off absorbing Kaleido Heart, but there's some pointy reddish boys in the background.
Fucking Kashtira.
Yeah, Kashtira has officially come to ruin the party.
Wait, so is this a dual world, or they just go like, "Hey, we're
No,
we
they just showed up.
invaded another world"?
They invaded, yeah.
Oh.
Their red planet is a spaceship, so they get to move around.
Okay. That makes more sense if it's a spaceship.
Yeah. But yeah, this is Heartbeat. Heartbeat is a quick play spell trap. Target a spell trap on the field. Or you can target 2 if you control Visa Starfrost. Shuffle them into the deck. Send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. This card sent to the graveyard card effect. Target a Tearlaments trap in your graveyard. Add it back. So yeah. The Heartbeat also adds back traps. It lets you shuffle back spell traps. 2 if you control Visa Starfrost. And then send a card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a decent way to do removal. I think the other reason why you would play it over something just playing MST is, you know, the fact that it has that effect too, and then send. In that respect, Tearlaments are, by the way, a lot like Dark World. I believe sending for cost doesn't work. They have to be sent by card effect, so cards that just discard from your hand don't work. You specifically have to do the and then effect. Also, by the way, Dark Worlds and Tearlaments don't go together because Dark Worlds specifically have to be discarded. whereas Tears involve a lot of sending to graveyard. This means that Dark World effects can proc Tearlaments. Tearlament effects that involve sending cards from your hand or deck to the graveyard do not proc Dark World cards.
Yes.
The Kashtira Banish, and especially Banish face down, is usually way more mean than putting in your deck. Like, spinning back to deck is rough. I think it was before a lot of the Banish engines of cards like Runic and Kashtira came around. A lot of people generally thought it was the worst form of removal is spin back to deck. The main thing is that if Tear puts a card back to your deck, Tear is not necessarily going to OTK your ass. Like, they get some pretty big boys, but if you've got a decent board, they have to play through all your shit too. So you can actually, shuffle back and actually get your cards back, right? Like, you can search again, you can play again. If you get fucking banished face down, you can't do shit about that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, yes, Zed says, Shaddolls also work by sending via card effect, so Shaddol Tearlament is a good deck. Especially because, again, the dark Shaddol is Winda, and she is very strong. She has been banned before. So,
I think I have a meme for this somewhere.
So we're gonna
See if I
go
can find it in my pictures folder.
back in time a little. So now we're actually getting back to what happens with our boys when they first arrive on this planet. This is Tearlament's Meta Noise. Screeching claw sound in the first broken world. Basically, this illustrates that thing we talked about earlier, which is Visas shows up on this planet with Lightheart. The mermaids are like, huh? Wimst?
Whomst?
You look like our great leader.
Our great leader and his plan to search for portals of immortality. Betrayal!
Which you're...
And if you didn't know much about Vsauce, it just looks like, hey, it's a typical anime moment. You came to them as the bathing kind of situation.
I think they're pearl digging.
Well, the main thing is just their whole planet is nothing but water and tree roots. So yeah, no, I mean naturally.
I can't remember the name of the one at the back, but I do appreciate how she's just hidden herself under the water.
Havness, yeah, Havness is chilling. So Meta Noise is a normal trap. If you control a Visa Starfrost or Tearlaments monster, target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Book of Moon! Yo, is that Book of Moon? And then send a Tearlaments from your deck to your graveyard. If this card sent to the graveyard by a card effect, target a Tearlaments monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use one Meta Noise effect per turn, only once that turn.
Oh, lights.
You could do Tear... I mean, there were several Light Sworns like Curious in Casino Tier, so people have tried those brews. It's not as funny, but it works.
What the fuck is Casino Tier?
It's called Casino Tearlaments because the idea is it's just high rolls, baby. We just keep milling and hoping we hit a Tearlament name.
Oh my god.
Like, the main thing was make Lightsworn Curious, the Link 3, and just have him mill some cards and then just fucking Prage. Just hope you hit a Tearlament name so you can pop off, King. It's as silly as it sounds. And you just basically play every self-mill card you can for the funny. But yeah, Meta Noise is a good card. It's an in-archetype Book of Moon. That makes it searchable. Book of Moon is really strong against a lot of decks. For instance, Kashtira. Actual Kashtira, by the way. Also, Varen brought up another element. Another element of Casino Tier was basically you use dangers as well, because those are random.
Oh no.
Yeah, you get to do danger shit. Just anything that is chance-based. I don't think anybody played, like, Cup of Ace just for the vibes, but that's that kind of deck. The kind of deck where you're like, fuck it, I'll play Cup of Ace. It's Pot of Greed.
Ah, here we go. I found the image. Let's see. When it loads for Omega to enjoy this nonsense. I think I posted it a few times beforehand.
Yes, you've posted this on a few times, but I like it. It's the cycle of Winda. I meet someone, I duel them, I summon 2 El Shaddai Winda. Victory. Opponent surrendered.
I've never seen someone summon a second one, but like I feel like upon the second one, I actually want to. I will try to grab their throat.
Yeah, that's why it's surrender.
Yeah.
It's just like, fuck this, I'm out.
All right, and this is a card. Yeah, this card's not in Master Duel yet. This is the one, like, interesting post support that Tears have gotten. But I mentioned it before. This is their second field spell.
Oh.
I'll make it a little bigger in a second, but it's Tearlaments Portrayal. Let's make this 1.5
neat.
times bigger. It's a little bit, yeah. So yeah, it just shows, the three ladies fucking chilling, having fun.
They're no longer sad things.
Yes, you'll notice they're not wearing their padlocks anymore.
Sorry, they gave Merle the fucking bigger than less than eyes.
Yeah. The full name of this card is First Broken World of the Graceful Ripple Songstresses. Yo, is that a fucking JoJo
They're
reference?
allowed to go to the surface now, and I guess they no longer have their abusive leader.
You're just minding.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The audience can't see it, but I just put it in text chat here in Fail Patrol. That legit just the face she's making.
Yeah. She's doing a little face. So, Tearlaments Portrayal is a second field spell because their original field spell was limited to 1 in the OCG. It may even have been banned for a little bit before they let it go back to 1. So this card reads, unfortunately, fusion monsters and Tearlaments monsters you control gain 500 attack. They decided that was core to the archetype.
Fuck you! But
it just says, if an Aqua Tearlaments monster is sent to your graveyard by card effect, so this means not Kaleido Heart and not Rhino Heart, except during the damage step, you can send one level 4 or lower Aqua monster from your deck to your graveyard, but if you sent a non-Tearlaments monster to the graveyard, for the rest of this turn, you cannot activate cards or the effects of cards with the same name as the sent card. You can only use this effect of Portrayal once per turn. So, yes, Portrayal still gives you the attack modulation, but it does not search on activation, and it works to be, basically, if you send an Aqua monster that's not a Tearlament, keeping in mind you don't have that many Tearlament names left, you are locked out of using that monster, the Sangan and Witch of the Black Forest errata style. So, yes, while still, obviously, that still gives them that 500 attack boost. That's pretty spicy. This is a much more reasonable card than Perlarino was.
yes. I'm like, okay, as soon as I was like, what did they change? And then you added that bit up at the end. I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah, so it's much more restrictive.
Like, one of the reasons I love the Domsy Arc deck is because, yes, he's a big asshole. You gotta put in a bit of work to get that big asshole.
Yeah.
So you can't just be like, yeah.
All right, our next spell trap is Tearlaments Scream. Hey, Chad, it's another fucking ultra rare in Master Duel. I believe this is the 6th.
Isn't like 80% of the deck just? Isn't like 80% of the deck just ultra rares anyway?
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm telling Chad to keep count.
No, Omega. Axe completely forgot about that.
No, I was thinking about.
You were thinking about what?
I was more thinking about, like, isn't it just all ultras because they know it's like big, regardless of how like stupid it is?
I mean, yes, but it's a fucking money gouge. I specifically, this is an anecdote. I told the story. I never was able to build a tier deck because every fucking card is an ultra. Not everyone, but I'm counting it, Chum. So like, and I cannot afford to give Konami money because gems don't even equal dust. They've been better about later stuff. Well, actually, I don't know how bad the Tearlaments, the Kashtira rarity is, because every Kashtira hollow I get goes into the grinder for more dust. More dust. But yeah, no, it's I think, and this is probably why Tier lasted so long in Master Duel, so much so that it's still arguably still going. Even with Merle banned, it's probably still playable in some form. Was that Konami made it really expensive, and they just fucking don't. I don't know why. But yeah, this is Scream. This shows Presumably Rucolos because she's got a bigger sword, and Unicorn fighting. You can tell it's Unicorn because he has the stupid horn. But they're fighting. There's some sort of DBZ fight going on over here. I think that's Visas and the other one, which I think is Fenrir. No, I think King of the Swamp, because that's not an activated effect. King of the Swamp's passive effect is to be Fusion Substitute, so he still works. But yeah, this is Scream, so you've got, some fighting going on. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Tearlaments Scream? I meant string sound ripping apart the first broken world.
God damn it.
Yeah, the OCG names are really extra.
That's very much like it feels like I'm trying to read like a haiku poem. Like it feels like it'd be presented like a haiku.
No, it's got way too many syllables.
Clearly, you need to add in like Hisatsu or something in front of all these because that's the energy they give.
It's true. Cash could get worse. We don't have a Rise Heart yet. Yeah, it's Rise Heart then a Rise Heart. I gotta remember. Sadly, Kashira has the dumbest transition between the two hearts. Literally, just add a letter. But yeah, Tearlaments Scream is a continuous spell card. If a monster's is normal or special summoned, and you control a Tearlament or a Visa Starfrost monster, except during the damage step, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard, and for the rest of this turn, all monsters your opponent controls lose 500 attack. If this card is sent to the graveyard card effects, you can add a Tearlaments trap from your deck to your hand. You can use each effect of Scream once per turn. So by the way, Scream doesn't have that thing where you can only use one of its effects per turn. You can use both effects on one turn, just each only once per turn. And yeah, no, it's just it's not a perfect floodgate, but it is a floodgate. If your opponent normals or specials, you get to fucking mill 3 and make all their monsters lose 500 attack. Also, by the way, I believe the way this for the rest of the turn phrasing works means that it works on future summon monsters. It's not monsters they currently control lose the attack.
Also, one thing I do dumbly appreciate, you got these two fighting in the foreground, and in the background you can see clearly two other people fighting.
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit earlier. I think that's supposed to be Visas and Fenrir, the other Kashira, who did the bomb. But yeah, they're like having a DBZ fight in the back. And now, our last spell trap, and our last Tearlaments card for now. Tearlaments Suliek. This is what I used for the thumbnail. So the OCG name for this is Grieving Song playing in the first Broken World. The wiki's best guess is that Suliek is supposed to be a combination of Shriek and Suliek. But it's weird. It's a weird one. In this card art, though, you can see, once again, Visas has no idea what the fuck is happening. Kit Kalos appears to be covering her siblings from being grapple-bappled by Rhino Heart's evil whip face.
What the fuck is Visas holding?
Oh, he has
Reichardt's
Scareclaw, Reichardt's giant claw sword. Let me go grab Reichardt so you can see.
I didn't know it was a sword, so like basically from his arm that's covering it up, I thought he was holding like a weird like petrol can or something. I don't know. It just looked weird.
Why do you not have smart searching? There we go. I don't know how to spell Reichardt, but you should be able to tell if the vowel is flipped.
But just gonna cut it. Oh, okay, yeah. But on my screen, I only just see this part, and I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah, he's got a big sword, and since absorbing him, Visas can summon it. Previously, he just punched people.
Oh my god, his arm is so stupid. But yeah, sorry, I wasn't there for that episode, so
yeah.
I'll guess I'll be quiet.
Like I said, the first one of his divided heart that Visas found was himself as a furry. But yeah, so Suliak is that middle transition. Reinhardt shows up, gets the girls on his side, and then transforms into his giant monster form. So it is a other continuous card. It's a continuous trap card. It says, if you control a Tearlament monster or Visa Starfrost, target effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effect, send one monster you control to the graveyard. If it's card sent to the graveyard card effect, add a Tearlament from your deck to your hand. You only use each effect of Celiac once per turn. So this is basically a, a Veiler or Imperm type effect, but does let you extend. Honestly, I'm looking at it all in all, like I said, I was never able to, really utilize this deck myself, but looking at it kind of conceptually, this is... I think the main problem Tearlaments have is, while it was with a couple waves of support, Konami was very thorough with them. They have an in-archetype Book of Moon. They have an in-archetype, Phoenix Wing Windblast type effect. They have in-archetype, Negation. They have both an Omni and this, stuff like that, right? Rule Kolos is kind of like a Solemn Strike, or Solemn Warning, rather.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be a problem, except that they have all of these have search effects or have graveyard effects to add cards back when they're sent to your graveyard. So, that's why they are such a resource deck, is because every single one of their cards does something good, and because you're constantly milling yourself and searching and returning from graveyard, can almost always get access to the pieces you need as you need them. They have a fucking built-in, MST type effect. They can spin back spell traps. And while they don't have any battle tricks, they do have multiple attack modulation cards, so, it can be very spicy.
I forget the name of the one version of it, but it's like dealing with it's like as if every card is Sky Striker Kagari, just with how they work.
Yeah. Every card is a starter.
Do everything.
Or can be, yeah. Every card gets you a combo. So, I think it's a... I think Tearlaments is a step in the right direction for design space for Yu-Gi-Oh!, right? Having a deck that can just as easily go first or go second and has access to in-engine tools and doesn't require mega expensive staples all the time. Though, obviously, you would play shit like Triple Tactics or Thrust or stuff as well. And you would blend with, the Ishizu cards and stuff as well to make them go really over the top. But it's a step in the right direction. It's just that for an outing like that, Tearlaments is definitely above the power curve of a lot of other decks, and definitely deserves some of its cards to be gone, because just of how spicy they are. Given that we will likely get a second wave of Visas cards, a new season or whatever, eventually, I am kind of hopeful they can come back and maybe print some new tier names that are a little more balanced, so they don't have to see time in jail. Their second field spell, they should probably make a card that says, that while this card is face up on the field or in the graveyard, it counts as Kit Kalos kind of a thing, but, doesn't have Kit Kalos's really, have you literally 3 extension effects kind of a thing. Maybe, one extension effect.
It's a fusion monster that is just all 4 of the mermaids just having fun as a family.
Mm-hmm.
It's this counts as Kit Kalos.
Or, make sure to remember that because they have an attack gain effect, they really don't need a fusion spell. They're all fusion spells.
Yeah, why would they need a fusion spell?
But yeah, they can wind back. We talked about Paralino right at the start because it's their planet. So if you did not see that part, you can do the rollback. So we've been going for about an hour and a half. We got a little bit of time to kill. Obviously, I don't want to take up forever time, but there's a few cards we can add into this because we have basically. Valuable Book EX style, we have basically covered the entirety of the Tearlaments saga. We added, Perlagia, which came later, and we haven't yet talked about Kashtira Tearlament, but we'll do that when we talk about Kashtira, because that's kind of that thing. But, that's a big chunk of them. The next step in the story will be Wraithsaught and the Kashtiras, which we already saw a little bit of the sideshow from, because when Visas basically chases after the Kashtiras because they steal Kaleido Heart's body.
And he's just like, I need that.
And he's like, wait, I didn't finish absorbing my sorrow from that guy. I need that back. So he chases after them back to Reichheart, or Reichphobia, the planet of the Scareclaws, which is being fucking bombed from space by the Kashtiras, as seen in some previous cards. So we will be discussing that next time. But that means we should talk about the thing that made Tear go really over the top, because they're just 5 simple cards, and only 4 of them are actually good. Let's talk about what are usually referred to as the Ishizu cards. Technically, they are not archetype cards. They do not share names. The card that binds them together is Exchange of Spirit, because that was like Ishizu's killer strategy, was to do fucking Exchange of Spirit FTK type shit. But we call them usually the Ishizu monsters. And to start, we gotta do it. We've got Agido.
That we do.
Agido. Go ahead and fire it off in the chat.
I still think it's great that I actually could like unironically just say, "Hey, they got Agido."
They got him. That's right.
They got Agido.
He's been got. They got him.
There he is.
They got him good. But yeah, this is Agido, the Ancient Sentinel, who is a retrain of. The original monster was just Agido. The original Agido was a very dumb Earth Fairy that said if this card was destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, roll a 6-sided die, special summon a fairy from your graveyard whose level equal to the number rolled. Though if the number is 6, you can summon a level 6 or higher monster. So obviously not super good. But you got this boy. He looks a lot like the original Agido. Actually, can we grab regular Agido? We'll do a side-by-side. We'll do a side-by-side, new and old. The classic, be careful of who you make fun in high school.
How many years ago was this like apart? Like 15, 20?
Ooh, boy, yeah. Hold on, let me check the exact printings here. Okay. The first ever print of Agido was in Dark Revelation Volume... Oh, no, it was in 2003 in Dark Crisis in America. That's right. For some reason, despite the fact that worldwide, alphabetically comes after North America, and the North American releases are earlier, the Wikipedia orders them that way. But yes, in Dark Crisis, this card was printed in the year 2003.
He's just a ball.
The new Agido was printed in the TCG in Magnificent Mavens, Mama, in late 2022, nearly 20 years apart.
It really is high school to like full job.
Yeah.
It's high school to reunion, honestly.
But yeah, regular Agido, a classic Kaz monster design. I'm sure this is exactly how he looked in the manga. He's just a weird ball. He's got the Eye of Wadjet, which we love, and he's got little pincher hands. They didn't really do that much other than they put a lot more gold on him in the new version. But we gave him some sick lighting effects and gave him bigger wings to let you know he means business.
He's just that one guy from Futurama that is all about the clamps.
I'm giving the clamps. So, Agido the Ancient Sentinel. Koehe Agido. It's an Earth Fairy. Same stats, 15, 13, level 4. If a card is sent from the hand or deck to your opponent's graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then special summon one level 4 Earth Fairy monster from your graveyard, except Agido the Ancient Sentinel. If this card is sent from the hand or the deck to the graveyard, you can activate this effect, semicolon. Each player sends the top 5 cards of their deck to the graveyard, or their entire deck if less than 5. Then if Exchange of the Spirit is in your graveyard, you can send 5 more cards from the top of either player's deck. You can use each effect of Agido the Ancient Sentinel once per turn. So yeah, Agido is a miller. When he's sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, he mills 5. For both, which procs obviously a lot of effects. And also, he is a free special if a card is sent from the hand or deck, so he extends as well. And lets you summon back other guys. So yeah, that's Agido. I'm not quite sure why they decided to single him out in Master Duel and send him to hell. But he basically is all upside. Both of his effects are good. So,
no.
I don't know, maybe
I know what it is. He's been exchange spirited.
He had to be sacrificed.
Look at the colors.
It's true.
Oh, you fucker.
All right. Okay.
Why are you booing me? I'm right. Sorry.
No. I'm saying that because you are right. Because yeah. Like,
all right. So I think I will continue my trend of posting the new version and then the old version. So next up we have Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard. Actually, he's facing this way. I'll put him over here. This is a retrain of Shocking
fuck?
Nobody. Kelbeck. Actually, hold on. Is that? No, okay. Sorry, I was thinking there was a shorter way to grab the new art. But yeah, Kelbeck.
He just looks like you don't want him anywhere near an electrical socket.
So, the original Kelbeck, if you will behold, looks like that. It's pretty the same. He's just brighter colored. The original Kelbeck says if this card is attacked by a monster after damage calc, return that monster to the hand, which is actually, again, situationally useful. If Earth Fairy was a thing sooner, because like there were some Earth Fairy support cards, and Axe did clunk us at least 1 week trying to run that deck, but that was mostly just off of, I think, regular Mudora and the Star Cestus or whatever. But if they had gotten more support for Earth Fairies sooner, I think regular Kelbeck could have been a guy. But Ko Senpei Kelbeku, Kelbeck the Ancient Vanguard, is a little more dynamic. So we've given him a glow up. He's got some fancier colors. He's also got more lightning, though he was still electric to start. And I believe the trivia says this is a pose reference to the original manga chapter when Kelbeck is used to attack Kaiba directly. So yeah, it's a Kelbeck. He's Kelbeckin. So Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard, is an Earth Fairy level 4, 15/18, same stats. If a card is sent from the hand or deck to your opponent's graveyard, except during the damage step, you can target one special summon monster your opponent controls, special summon this card from your hand, then return that monster to the hand. If this card is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. Each player sends the top 5 cards of their deck to the graveyard, or their entire deck if that's less than 5. Comma. Then, if Exchange of Spirit is in your graveyard, you can set 1 trap from your graveyard. You can only activate each effect of Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard, once per turn. So yes, Kelbeck is the other miller. He mills 5. He also has a very funny effect when you are milling to bounce a special summon monster your opponent controls, which is funny. Useful.
Just the entire time I'm just sitting here going, and then when Kelbeck is special summon, you must go to the Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
The Shrine of the Silver Monkey. I have never seen, our next target is, Keldo the Sacred Protector. I have never seen them large. They look like they have a little frowny face.
They kind of do.
And you want to talk about glow ups. So once again, I would like you to so you've got new Keldo. Not Kelbeck, Keldo. Old Keldo. New Keldo. Old Keldo.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Again, this is definitely some old school Kaz art. This is very similar vibes to like Dark Necrofear. But it's just really weird and esoteric. And it came with pre-built Konami orbs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely the, like, you know, be careful who you made fun of in high school, or, you know, you versus the what she told you not to worry about type vibes. Like, regular Keldo is just kind of like, yeah, I'm here, I'm Keldo. And then Keldo the Sacred Protector is like, I am here. Give me your graveyard.
I really like that it's like it is literally the Changing Spirit thing with like the colors being shifted.
Yeah,
But,
they did the it kind of did the color reverse, not perfectly, but a little bit of them. They definitely played up a little bit more of the red to blue line as well. The original Keldo was another Earth Fairy that just said if this card's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, shuffle 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard into the deck, which is probably the closest to an effect that is like something the new guys do. Though obviously requires being destroyed by battle, so, you know, a little hesitant. But, technically this card's name in Japanese is more like Keldo the Possessed Idol, but, you know, Sacred Protector Keldo. Earth Fairy, level 4, 1216. You can discard one other Earth Fairy monster, special summon this card from your hand, then add 1 Exchange of the Spirit or 1 card that mentions it, which, by the way, is every single other Ishizu card, from your deck to your hand. Quick effect. Banish this card from your field or graveyard. Target up to 3 cards in any graveyard, or up to 5 if Exchange of the Spirit is on your field or in your graveyard. Shuffle them into the deck. You can use each effect of Keldo, the Sacred Protector, once per turn. So Keldo is a shuffler. He does not mill, but if he is put into the graveyard, you can activate his effect to banish his ass, and then shuffle back 3 cards in either graveyard, which, you know, lets you fuck with graveyard effects. Or just lets you reload guys if you need to. Like, I've seen a lot of people on the fringe of being decked out by their own self-mills and just be like, okay, Keldo, put back 3 cards.
Yeah, we've gone too far. Quickly take a step back.
Something you definitely need to be aware of, especially since Runic is a deck. I was playing the fucking Dark vs. Light festival, and a guy tried to fucking I think it was just Runic me. It did not work. I am playing Lab. It did not work.
I dipped my toe into the Dark vs. Light and then immediately went back to throwing Phantasm Spiral and Pachi in bronze instead. Because that's way more fun.
Probably. Alright.
I mean, it's fun until you come across people who are just like, okay, here's my big fuck off, like, Albaz deck. And like, why are you here?
That's the thing I have noticed in general with rankeds. You will just be minding your own business in, like, bronze. And I think I told the story. I ran into a guy running full power cash in silver, and I'm just like, why are you here? Get the fuck out of here. I surrender. Go to the next fucking tier already. Get out of here. What are you doing?
Like,
You should be in
sorry.
fucking diamond.
Like,
Yeah.
This isn't a thing against Omega, because I'm also just, for shits and giggles, just playing some Master Duel. I'm in silver. A guy just played Beta the Electromagnetic Warrior. Like, this is what I'm expecting to see here.
Yeah, probably guy's got a starter deck, or he's trying some weird rock build.
Yeah. That kind of dumb nonsense I can get behind.
But yeah, here's another dumb classic that is, again, meaningful to us, because if you go back and watch early parts of our Prog series, you will see this guy.
Yes.
Axe ran him in a deck a couple of times. And in fact, I think other decks ran him at the time. So, Classic Mudora is an Earth Fairy that says he gains 200 attack for each fairy monster in your graveyard and has 1500 attack normally. So, you know, he can get decent later in the game. His counterpart is Mudora the Sword Oracle, who is way more blinged out, just as swole. He has a chin now. He's got a beard. I don't like that he has pointy teeth. Or at least his mask has pointy teeth, you know, but still. His swords got way stupider. Literally, we went from level 1 rogue gear to like a really weird level 90 or like a weird PvP season ninja glam. What if you wanted to be an Egyptian ninja? Here you
Actually,
go.
no. It's the second temple of Karn.
I could see that, yeah. But yeah, so, you know, Mudora had a little bit of a glow up. Mudora the Sword Priest, or Mudora the Sword Oracle, technically, in the TCG, is an Earth Fairy. He's got the same stats, level 4, 15-18. You can discard one other Earth Fairy monster. Special summon this card from your hand. Then you can place one Gravekeeper's Trap from your deck, face up in your spell and trap zone. Quick effect. Banish this card from your field or graveyard. Target up to 3 cards in the graveyard, or 5 exchange of the spirits in your graveyard. Shuffle them back into the deck. And use each 5 ones per turn. So Mudora is your other shuffler. He's a free special summon and can shuffle back. You've got 2 millers, 2 shufflers. That's the Ishizu engine in a nutshell. In real life, I think all 4 of those motherfuckers are limit 1 in both sides. And now let's talk about the one that nobody talks about because it was weird and bad. Though it was released in... technically, this was this card we're about to show. Let me pull up. Zolga the Prophet. This card was released in a promotional set in Japan first in, like, 2020. You know, in the Prismatic God box. That was translated into the set of cards, King's Court, which was full of God cards and other weird support, but was generally not very meta-defining. It was reprinted in Duelists of the Pyroxene, which was originally a duelist pack that they printed for Earth monsters. But Konami probably did the smart decision and basically turned the Amazoness and Morphtronic cards that were in there into pack filler for other sets, and then put the Ishizu cards in a special side set because they knew that would fuck up the meta. Rather than try and, like, accept that anybody would be pulling Duelist of the Pyroxene for anything but the Ishizu cards. So, while Zolga is a retrain, Zolga the Prophet is a retrain of another old weird Ishizu monster, here he is, regular Zolga. He came from literally 2 years in the past and was not gained very well. The original Zolga is a Earth Fairy with like 1700 attack that says if a monster is tribute summoned by tributing this card, you gain 2000 LP. Unfortunately, he came out, I think, a little too early to be useful in any like Monarch strats, especially because he's an Earth Fairy. But, you know, not an awful effect, just weird. Not relevant long term. Zolga the Prophet, on the other hand, is an Earth Fairy, level 4, same stats, 1700 attack. If you control an Earth Fairy monster except Zolga the Prophet, you can special summon this card from your hand, then look at up to 5 cards on the top of each player's deck. When a monster that was normal summoned by tributing this card declares an attack, you can banish this card from your graveyard. If you do, destroy that monster and inflict 2000 damage to your opponent. You can only use each effect of Zolga the Prophet once per turn. And you can see in the art of Zolga the Prophet, he's got the blast hidden by tribute inside his chest. That's what he was for in the Ishizu run, so yeah. Obviously, like, not... I mean, he is a free special in the Ishizu type deck, but he doesn't work with, like, Exchange of the Spirit or anything. His extra effect to look at the top 5 cards is not super helpful, and his effect involves tribute summoning and battle steps, so yeah. A cute reference, but it really did not prepare us, and I think why nobody... I don't think anybody took the Ishizu cards seriously until they actually, like, printed and revealed them, because Zolga's such a nothing card, right? Like, it's a cute reference to the anime, but it's not gonna do anything.
I like the look, at least.
Oh, yeah,
I like all like this.
Konami really has the look for, like, this style of these old-ass Egyptian cards down. So that's cool.
Yes.
But all right. Okay, before we get on out of here, before we wrap up at about 2 hours, one last thing to mention. I won't pull up the graphic for this because it's a short list. But Master Duel did announce a new ban list. We've alluded to it a couple of times. It's going to go into effect August 31st. Hold on. Sorry, I had to suddenly blow my nose. Okay, now that I can breathe a little easier. So, some cards are going to be banned. Number 1, newly forbidden. Agido. We no longer have Agido. AKA, they got Agido. Block Dragon. That's right. They are finally blocking the block. A lot of people are happy about this. Block Dragon is a very unfun card that has plagued Master Duels since its inception. Tearlaments Merely, as mentioned earlier, kind of a weird hit, but it will, limit some of the plays. Phantasmal Lord Ultimatal Bish Balkan. That's right. You will no longer be able to Bish Balkan FTK on stream. On the one hand, while streamers rejoice that they no longer have to watch Bish Balkan FTK ever again, this is such a weird hit because Bish Balkan FTKs are not good. I can only assume that somebody at the Master Duel, team was FTK'd and was like, this is dumb. And then our last banned card, number 86, Heroic Champion Rongo Bongo. Go to jail forever. Rest in peace.
Yes. Why was he not banned in the first place, Master Duel?
Yeah. So, yeah, no. It's just that since they banned Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, it was a lot harder to set up Rongo locks, but it was still possible. This also probably means that after probably a couple of weeks, we can get Bamboozling Gossip Shadow back, if you liked that card. Newly limited. Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard. Kelbeck was literally the only Ishizu card, I think, who was left at semi-limit. So they are now all limit 1 or banned. Sprite Jet. Swap Frog. That's right. Sprite getting double hit. Swap Frog to 1. Sprite Jet to 1. Branded Fusion to 1. So, branded players, you better hope and pray your Branded Fusion resolves. That grass looks greener going to 1. That's right, by the way. That grass is at 0 in the TCG. In the OCG and previously in Master Duel, it was at 3. Now it's going to 1. Which makes it much less consistent, but is also still sacky as hell. Newly semi-limited. Blaster going to 2 from 1. They could have just put him to 3, but Master Duel is technically run by the OCG people, so you know. Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer from 1. Again, I don't know why they bothered with that. I guess it's because they allow Draco face off at 3. Yeah. Extrav, Pot of Extravagance going to 2. I think it was down to 1, so they're putting it back to 2. Some people were like, flu hit? I think they forgot that Extrav was limited to 1.
Yeah, Varen saying something I've seen said in trad games a lot, which is Diabolo should have been hit, but
Diabolos is still, he's only like 3k. You can still fucking kick his ass. Or is that the bigger? No, yeah, Diabolos is, oh, you mean Diabolos is the Mind Hacker? Sorry, yeah, that guy probably should have gotten got. But I think they want to wait until they release all the cash cards before they do that. We'll see. No longer limited. Girsu is now unlimited. Ancient Fairy Dragon is now unlimited. Nadir Servant is now unlimited. The Fairy Dragon Unlimited is probably a little dicey because Fairy Dragon control decks, Field Spell control decks, super work. But yeah, in general, this is a decent hit. We're actually hitting some shit that like has stayed alive in the OCG for forever. We're actually like straight up banning a Tearlament card. Agido is being banned, you know. We actually hit Rongo. Looks like this should cycle out some of the Sprite stuff. Branded is gonna like, again, Branded is you're gonna have to really hope and pray that nobody's got a negate waiting for exactly Branded Fusion because they know you've only got 1 copy. But still decent. There's still a lot of annoying cards that I do not understand why the fuck they are legal. You can still play fucking Auroradon lines, though you can no longer Hulk. Verte is still allowed. You know, Fusion Destiny, I think, is still at 2.
yeah, the amount of fucking times I've seen just like, oh, look at this guy's weird fun deck. I'm having a fun time. As soon as I get the upper hand, I'm like, oh, there's Verte. Here's just some random Destiny monsters they have in their deck. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's them splashables. But still, decent list, and as usual, Master Duel does lists like every couple of weeks, so hopefully we can get some more spice as well. In general, I don't know what's next for Master Duel with another big update. Obviously, the event is going to close around that time. There's still going to be ladder stuff going on. I'm interested in the Centurion they've just announced, but that's not going to go anywhere. I'm trying to build Dark World as well, finish that out myself. Because, yeah, I'm that guy. I like Dark Worlds. I know that they're kind of, like, solitary, but I'll take it. Listen, I still need to get mine. I'm not going to build Cash. I never built Tier. I wanna go to Master sometime. We talked about some Yu-Gi-Oh cards last time. I'm trying to think. What's the Master Duel update next? Lost waiting on his Zerk shit.
I really want my new Zerk shit, but also just quickly for Omega, this asshole showing up when I'm trying to get Lab. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, he does do that. He's you can run him in Lab. I don't.
I know.
Because they have better cards, but it's funny.
They gave him a shiny version of him too. I'm like, fuck off.
Well, that's some extra dust if you want to melt him. Gold Pride would be fun. I might try Gold Pride as well. What are other archetypes that like Master Duel hasn't gotten yet? That I'm trying to think.
Like I mean, it's not what they don't have, but because they just got it. I want to try the actual like, quote unquote Chaos archetype. Like
yeah, they just got the
in
Chaos
name.
Synchro. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I looked at it and I'm like, oh, I'm getting Light Ray vibes from how many of these old ass monsters I see be Chaos versions.
Yeah, I've got some Chaos Mirage Dragons and shit. It's pretty fun. I don't really care about Rescue Ace, so I think a lot of people do.
Oh, Ezra says the Purloin.
I'm not really interested in Pearly, though that is also another meta deck to watch out for. I mean, Nouvelle isn't in there yet. I'll probably try and make that work, though. I don't think that will be as funny.
Sorry, seeing Ezra refer to the new cards as Purified Zerk reminds me about that weird fetish I saw, which is the opposite of corruption.
Oh, the Purified, yeah. Also, Varen, Chaos has become a Synchro deck. Look at the new selection pack, Chaos Reigns. There are several Chaos Synchros.
Yeah.
There's not an Xyz angle, but you could play Xyz monsters that are both light and dark. But yeah, no, Chaos Synchro is like a thing. There's a new Fire King shit, which is funny, but I would have to run that in like, I don't run pure Fire King, so that'd have to be in like a Nephthys build.
Yeah. Any thing you want to add in Axe?
That would imply that Axe is gonna play Master Duel.
I haven't booted Master in a long time, and I regretted buying the anniversary stuff. But hey, it was cool for the brief moment. It was.
Okay.
But yeah, we are about halfway through the Visa Starfrost lore, depending on how long that like Menadium takes, which it shouldn't take that long. So I wanted to say next week obviously will be our last fail portrayal of the week. So I'm gonna double check. I'm pretty sure it's Blackluster Soldier, but I gave you a bit of little wiggle room last week. So I'm gonna scroll through that. But yes, indeed, with about the same of those results, with 6 votes, Blackluster Soldier won. So now we actually need to get in there. Though, as always, as I said previously, Spiral was still second place. So that'll be fun. We'll get into that. But the other thing I wanted to say, because I did remember this, because I said something I remembered myself. After that, I've had a fun idea to talk about. Like, we've talked before about Yu-Gi-Oh! About ups and downs of the meta. We've usually done sets in a series. Like, we've done, obviously we've done a lot of anime archetypes. Those are very popular. We'll probably have to come up with some more of those, either through the polls or some other shit. When somebody in the squad wants to put trains on the poll, but I don't know about that.
Maybe later.
Axe is really fixated on getting Spiral right now.
I think Spiral's cool.
But yeah, in general, anime episodes have done very well. We've done a few of those. At some point, we probably should break down Rocket to try and explain what the fuck Dragon Link is.
Wait, you're gonna. Sorry, hold on. I need to step into the ring here quickly. You're gonna make fun of me for going all in on my dumb archetypes, but you're still in on Spiral. That's the hill you'll die on.
Sorry. Somebody in chat's just like, I like trains.
No, I'm just pointing out how
Well,
You gotta be careful with the stones you throw, Axe,
Yes,
because
but-
I'll throw them back at you.
it's because most people don't actually understand how many weird cards Spiral has, even though it was a good deck.
Okay.
No, I think people are intimately familiar with Spiral Card. Well, if they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh at the time.
Yeah. No,
No, I still
acceptable
see.
answer. I would have accepted. Yeah, I know some of them are weird and dumb. I still like it.
But what I was going to say was, so we've worked through Hidden Arsenal. We've talked about a lot of anime effects. We moved through the dual terminal storyline. We did all of the Abyss storyline, which allowed us to talk about a lot of meta decks and not meta decks, and kind of compare and contrast. In Fail Betrayal, we talk about not just the card art through the ages, but also their themes, give you some backstory on lore and stuff, and talk about how well they did. Let me go to the UP and see if it's got a good list of these. I was thinking that after we wrap up Visa Starfrost, obviously keeping in line for the solo modes, because that was another thing we did, because that was a really good way to get through. My next idea for what to do is to look at what are called the deck build packs. Those are the packs that are usually smaller and contain 3 major archetypes. We've already done a few of them, but we can work through some more. Like, I think the first deck build pack we've done entirely, that was Spirit Warriors. That was the Secret 6 Sams, and we've talked about all 6 Sam cards. Magical Muskets, pretty sure we've done those before, and Weathers. Have we done Weather before?
No, not the Digrapher storyline. No.
No.
I mean, that'd be like, I feel like we could
Also,
do,
that would
like,
be really...
I feel like we did like a Fail Patrol live stream. We should probably just
We're
do
gonna
all of the weird
become-
piecemeal stories that existed.
We're gonna,
I mean, actually,
we're
we're
gonna
doing
be
a live
that
stream right now.
meme. We're gonna be that meme from
Okay.
Always Sunny. We've got all the red lines and everything going across because it diverges a lot.
Yeah, Weather is a solo mode, so we did them for sure. Yeah. But like, there are several of these sets which have like these usual 3 archetypes in them, which are often very mixed. Yeah, so for instance, to let you know what we'll be bringing to you, the second deck build pack ever was Dark Savers, released in the TCG as Dark Saviors. That was Vampire, which we've already done, Fur Hire, and Sky Striker. That's right, Sky Striker was a deck build deck, and which, being put in the same pack as Vampires and Fur Hire, that was the one that was meta.
Yeah, we've already gone over for hires, right? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think we have.
Yeah, we've done those as well. But yeah, so that would be
Many
Sky
very
Striker would be our
jokes are
first
made.
example of this, because that would be very funny and meta relevant. We've already done some of the ones in Hidden Summoner because we did Nephthys, but that would be like Prank Kids. Did we actually do Mayakashi? I think we did that when we did Shiranui.
Yeah.
If not, chat, let us know, because that would also be Hidden Summoners. Infinity Chasers would be Infinitrack, so you would finally get your Earth Machine fix. Witchcrafters, Evil Eyes, which I would be happy to talk about that deck, which I have affection for, even though it's terrible. We've already talked about Dragon Maids, so we would not talk about them when we did Mystic Fighters, but that would also be Math Mechs. We'll finally have to do math. And Generators, another very popular underdog archetype, and it just goes down the line. And this would eventually include shit like, like talking about, Valiants, Labyrinths, Runics, the Adventure Engine. So, like, I think that would be a good way, because that really does the combination of, like, most of these deck build pack archetypes have a very strong specific theme. We've already done Live Twin, but that was in a pack, for instance. They have a specific theme that goes through. They have, like, a specific art design, some of which is, for better or worse there. And there is kind of a, what would you say? There's kind of a reputation about these packs, right? Where usually everybody's like, well, one archetype is good and the others suck. Yes, Punk would be in there. Exorcisters would be in there. It's a lot of good shit. So yeah, that's my plan. That'll probably be, still a few weeks down the line. I'm going to guess they probably will release another solo mode sometime next month in Master Duel at this rate, but so we'll figure it out. But yeah, that's just like it was a random thought I had, because that would allow us to talk about both newer archetypes, but also generally people like those archetypes, for better or worse. Some of them are meta, and some of them are just, fan favorites.
Yeah. hold a special place in some people's hearts.
So there you go. That's my idea. If you want to have some control over Failed Portrayal stuff, you can vote in our topic polls by going on Patreon and enrolling at the 5 and up level. Also, you know, hey, as the month goes towards a close and I look at my YouTube revenue and I look at my bank account, you know, obviously I'm both paying off my new computer, but also I have to, you know, buy groceries. So there's a little bit of a tiny bit of inflation happening. I would like to see, you know, a bank account go up rather than bank account go down. Consider dropping us, you know, obviously your super chats help, but also YouTube memberships, making sure you either get a membership or renew them, stuff like that. That'd be real cool if you could help me out there. And other than that, I'll be seeing you tomorrow for more Final Fantasy the 14, where I will endeavor to finish Stormblood MSQ.
You must liberate Alamigo.
Yeah. I mean, Zed, that's... technically, we kind of did that because I did Red Eyes, which is just, like... We've managed to cram, like, half the cards Joey played back into Red Eyes. But yes, that's all for now. Good night, everybody. We'll be seeing you next time.
Yep, take care.
All right, and